Hi, good morning. So we saw how human language originated and evolved. So now you have a good idea about how human beings spread across the globe over a period of 50 to 60,000 years or a little more. So don't take the chronology too seriously. There are differences of opinions, but generally we say that it took 50 to 60 thousands of years for human beings to move out of Africa and people the whole world. Right. Now, we also saw that language was something which they originally possessed when they were in Africa. They were just moving out into the world. And we also know that the original pristine language, whatever we want to call it, which many archaeologists and linguists believe was the direct ancestor of a language called Khoisan, which is spoken in the southeastern part of Africa, near the Kalahari Desert. I told you all about that. Now, what happens to a language when it migrates? This also it changes. It changes, and its changes are marked at particular times in a particular locality. You know that now there are 7,000 plus languages in the world. But you can divide these languages into certain families. Some people say there are 12 major families, others say there are 15. Forget that. There are differences of opinion. But we divide languages into families because these families have a common ancestor, what we call a proto-language, or the first language, or the original, whatever name you want to call it, from which all the other languages which are currently used evolved. So for instance, we know that most languages in North India evolved from Sanskrit, Hindi, Bangla, Gujarati, Rajasthani, Oriya, Ahomia, all these languages, Punjabi, Nepali, all these languages evolved from Sanskrit. We also know that the Dravidian languages in South India, including Malayalam, Kannada, Tamil, Telugu, Tulu, a few small languages like Khond, Brahvi, all of these evolved from a common ancestor. Okay. So, how do we know, how do we recognize a language family? Or how do we recognize a proto-language or its time of origin? We do it by some kind of evidence, some records, or working back historically, looking at the migration of populations and reconstructing the evolution of language. So many scientists say, many linguists, many archaeologists say that the Indo European family, of which English is a member, probably the largest family in the world. Okay. By current estimates, there are more than 3,000 million speakers or 300 crore speakers, because Hindi is a very large language spoken by 50 crores of people. English is an equally or more a larger language spoken by 700 million or 70 crores people. So in all these languages which are spoken mostly in Asia and Africa, but also in other continents. English is available in Australia, in America, in Canada, in South Africa. So, the Indo-Aryan language family is the largest language family in the world. Right. So I think you have had a look at those two videos I sent you, which shows, one video shows the origin and spread of the Indo European family of languages. At the bottom you see a timeline, a cursor moves starting at around 3000 BC on the left, and it moves like this. So the movement of the cursor is coincided by the appearance of certain languages on the map. So for example, when the cursor is at around 3000 BCE, you see a language called Anatolian appear in Turkey. Many linguists and archaeologists believe that the first evidence of the Indo-European family of languages, first evidence for the existence of the Indo-European family of languages was found in Turkey, modern Turkey, in the Asian part of Turkey. You know, Turkey is a bicontinental country. A little of it exists in Europe also. The famous city of Istanbul is in Europe. But the vast majority of Turkey lies in Asia. So in this area called Anatolia, Anatolian Peninsula, you find the appearance of the first Indo-European language, or you can say the very origin of the Indo-European family of languages was in Anatolia. Right. And then please look at the animated map carefully. You find that Anatolian is replaced by another language called Hittite, Hittite. That happens, you know. A language evolves into another at the same place. Like the evolution of Sanskrit into Prakrit. Prakrit was the spoken form of Sanskrit. Or another language called Ardha Magadhi, which also evolved from Sanskrit. Not somewhere else, but at the same place. By what is called linguistic change at the local level. So look at the map for that also. How at the same place another language evolves from the same language. So this is how you should look at the map carefully. At the bottom is the timeline, starting with at around 3000 BC. And the cursor moves to the right. So Anatolian is the first language. So this is now well accepted. In some books you will find that the origin of the Indo-European family was in Central Europe. In what is the name of the country? Not Ukraine. Ukraine is very close. A Balkan country, in a language, it's called Ukrainian. No, not Ukrainian. For the name of the language. Close to Ukrainian. Okay. Close to Ukrainian and Moldovan. Okay. In Central Europe. Whereas now the predominantly accepted notion about the origin of the Indo-European family is that it is basically it originated in Anatolia, in modern Turkey. All right. So as you watch the cursor moving, you see the appearance of other languages. You see the appearance of the Indo-Iranian family. First, Indian and Iranian languages belonging to the family were common. Then the Indian branch split off, and you find the appearance of Hindi sometime in the medieval period, and also Urdu, which they are both the same languages. Urdu is today the national language of Pakistan. It is also spoken by some people in India. So, Indo-Iranian or Indo-Aryan, more specifically. Indo-Iranian is a common name for this easternmost branch of the family. Okay. How many branches of the Indo-European family exist today? Here again, there are differences of opinion. If you look at the second map not map, second animated map, you will find that there is a branch called Nuristan, which is actually a branch of the Indo Aryan family. Okay, but some linguists would like to consider it separate. So in this new animated map, you will find some 11 or 12 subfamilies, and all the current languages listed. It's a very interesting map. See that. But most linguists would say there are 8 branches of the Indo European family. What are they? Let us start at the east. Indo Aryan. Okay. Or if you want to club it with Iranian, Indo-Iranian, you can put these languages together. So if you want to put them together, you get the language spoken in Iran, Farsi, the language spoken in Afghanistan, Dari, Pashto. All these, if you want, you can put together as one family. Right? Then let us move westward. You find a family called Armenian, which is an isolated family. There are not many languages in the family. You find a family called Balto-Slavic. Here again, some linguists would want to divide them into two, Baltic and Slavic. But many linguists take them together. So this is a large family, to which belongs Russian, Polish, Bulgarian, Slovenian, a number of languages, some half a dozen languages. Okay. They belong to the Balto-Slavic family, and they are spoken in the areas Ukrainian, the language I was telling you about, Moldovan, so many languages spoken by linguistic communities. You can find where this is spoken in the map. Close to Russia, in and around the in and around Eastern Europe. So how many have we found? Indo-Iranian. If we take Indian and Iranian subfamilies as one. Armenian, which is a small family. Balto-Slavic. Albanian, which is also a small family. I think there is only one language spoken in this family. Albanian. Modern Albanian. Then you have the Greek family. I think only one language is at present extant. Greece. Modern Greek, not the classical Greek in which Homer wrote his famous epics, Iliad and Odyssey. Modern Greek. And some dialects here and there, which is also a small family. Then move slightly to the west. There you find 3 very large families. One of them is the Romance family, okay, or the Latin family. The mother of all these languages was Latin. And how many languages are there in this family? I'll only tell you the bigger. There are some small languages. French is a very prominent language. Okay, spoken by at least 100 million people, 10 crores. If you take people who speak French overseas, outside France, in Canada, in various French colonies all over the world. So French, Italian, the language which is very close to Latin, because Latin evolved and flourished in Rome, which was the capital of Italy, which is the capital of Italy, which was the capital of the Roman Empire, a large empire, one of the largest empires in world history. The entire continent of Europe was under Roman rule, and also many places in West Asia, Palestine. When Christ was born, Palestine was under Roman occupation. And many parts of North Africa, Egypt, Libya, Morocco, all these areas were under Roman occupation. And many parts of Asia too, up to the borders of Russia and Central Asia. Roman rule prevailed. Britain was also under Roman rule. We are going to look at it a little later. So, Italian is also a prominent language, but its speakers are much less than the speakers of French. Italy is a small country today. So, French, Italian, what else? Portuguese, Spanish. Two languages which are spoken in what is called the Iberian Peninsula. Iberian. Iberian Peninsula. Portugal is a small country, but at one time it was a powerful country. You heard of Vasco da Gama, who came to India in 1498 and landed at Kapad near Kozhikode. The Portuguese were a powerful seafaring people with one of the most powerful navies in the world. That's why they were able to hold vast territories of the world. Okay. And Portuguese is now one of the largest languages in the world because it is spoken not only in Portugal but also in Brazil, in South America. We know that Brazil is well known for its achievements in football and of a number of world-class players. So Portuguese is now called Brazilian Portuguese. It's slightly different from the Portuguese spoken in Europe, but it's a large language spoken by something like 200 million or 20 crores people. So, and Spanish, spoken in Spain primarily, but also in many South American countries. Mexico, Argentina, Chile, Colombia, Ecuador, Paraguay, Uruguay, so many countries. Except for Brazil, all countries in South America have Spanish as their first language, official language. So how many? French, Italian, Spanish, Portuguese, and one small language, a little away from this center of the Latin language. It is called Romanian, Roumanian, which is actually spoken in Eastern Europe. So for somehow a community of Latin speakers were left alone, surrounded by speakers of Balto-Slavic languages. You have their neighbors are all speakers of Balto-Slavic languages like Russian, Bulgarian, Slovenian, Czech, Slovakian. All these languages are Balto-Slavic languages. And in the midst of these Balto-Slavic language communities, you have a small community of speakers of the Romanian language, which is actually a Romance or Latin language. So these are the 5 major Romance languages. But you also find that now a dialect of Spanish called Catalan, Catalan. Catalan is claiming to be a separate language. And a province in Spain called Catalonia is now demanding complete independence from Spain. They want to become a separate country. So they failed in one recent referendum, getting less than 50% of the votes. No, but later on, I think in a few years' time, Catalonia will become a separate country. And Catalan will be recognized as a separate language. So let us say there are 6 languages. So while I am speaking this, remember, there are no hard and fast rules. about language identities. They change. A new language might come into existence. So the old characterizations, all the classifications will have to be renewed. So I said there are 5 Latin or Romance languages. There can be 6. No problem. And the remaining 2 families, I'll come to the Germanic family in the end, because that is a family to which English belongs. At one time, there was a powerful family called the Celtic family, Celtic. At one time, they inhabited a large part of Western Europe, including France, Germany, the British Isles, Ireland, England, almost the entire Western Europe. But the family has declined. Now, the major languages are Welsh, which is spoken by less than 1 million people in Britain. And that too, not all of them are monolingual. All of them can speak English also. But at one time, Welsh was a powerful language. For example, in the 13th century, Welsh remained independent because the province called Wales, Wales, on the western coast of Britain was an independent country. It was conquered by English kings in the 13th century, right? So Welsh is one of the remaining languages of the Celtic family. But the most numerous language is Irish, which is the official language of the Irish Republic and also of Northern Ireland, which is currently under British occupation. So Irish is the only language with some official standing. You can also count Welsh, because Welsh is taught in schools in Wales. There are Welsh newspapers and Welsh TV channels. So Irish and Welsh. Okay. And a small languages like Scotch Gaelic, spoken in Scotland in Britain. Manx, Manx, a language spoken in the Manx Islands. Here and there, in and around Britain. So the Celtic family has declined. There are less than, even if you count Ireland, there are less than 10 million or 1 crore speakers. But at one time, as I said, it was a very powerful family in Europe. Now, let's move to the last family. Our family of Germanic. I call it our because we are going to study this family in detail. We are going to study the history of the English language. So as I said, it starts with the Indo European family, originating in Anatolia, in Turkey, around 3000 years BCE, around 5000 years ago. Right. Now, here with the Germanic family, you will find from the map, that the animated map, that the Germanic family originated something like 2000 years ago. Okay. And the subfamily has 3 branches. There was an eastern branch called Gothic, Gothic, and it is no more in existence. It has become extinct. So how do we know that there is a language called Gothic? We know there was a language called Gothic because we have got a translation of the Bible in the Gothic language. Right? Probably the first linguistic evidence of the Indo European and the Germanic family, subfamily of the Indo European family. Okay. So this branch is the Eastern Germanic branch, located in Eastern Europe. Then there is a Northern Germanic branch, to which languages like Swedish, okay, Norwegian, Icelandic, Danish. Okay. Icelandic is a small language spoken in an island called Iceland. I-C-L-A-N-D. I don't know why it's called Iceland. Probably because many parts of it is covered with ice, but it's not fully true. There is a volcano in Iceland, right? And these countries are called Nordic countries. Nordic is the same as North, because they exist in the northern part of Europe. And these countries are well known for another important reason. They are the countries where you find the most empowered women in the world. The heads of state of many of these countries are often women. Their parliaments have more than 40% of women, the highest in the world. Sweden, Norway, even Finland, which speaks a non-Indo European language. Finnish is not an Indo European language. But the country's culture is similar. You have a very women-friendly or women-empowered culture in Finland also. I think the current Prime Minister of Iceland is a woman. Okay. And all these countries have had a large number of women Prime Ministers. So we have looked at two sub-families of the subfamily of the Germanic languages. One, the Eastern family, to which the language Gothic belongs. It has become extinct. Then the Northern family, to which these contemporary languages belong. Norwegian, Swedish. Sometimes you don't count Norwegian as a special language. It is included under Swedish. But whatever. If you don't want to include it in the northern branch of the Germanic family, fine, no problem. But Swedish, Icelandic, Danish, what else? All these languages belong to the North Germanic family of subfamily of the Germanic branch of the Indo-European family. Then, finally, I'll come to the Western Germanic subfamily, to which English belongs. So, let us start with German. German is the family takes its name from Germanic family. So, how many languages are available? Let us say, as I described these families, I left out some small languages. Okay, I'll come to that now. Because of their relative unimportance, I left them out. Alright, now let us see. German. And German originally split into two, High German and Low German. Low German is not something about its status. Low German is the German spoken in the coastal areas, low-lying areas. That's why it is called Low German. And remember, many of these areas are under the sea, under sea level. They are often flooded. And especially a country called Netherlands. Okay. Netherlands. It's also called Holland. And you have probably heard of the story of a boy who saved his city by stopping the flow of water through a hole in a wall, which is called a dike, by inserting his finger into it and remaining out there in the cold the entire night. Because in Holland or Netherlands, nether means below, an appropriate name. So Netherlands is below sea level. And to prevent the seawater entering land, they have built dikes. Dikes, D-Y-K-E-S. Dikes are walls, sea walls. And not only Netherlands, other areas like Belgium, parts of Belgium, a small country called Belgium, adjoining France. It also belongs to this Low German area. So it was from this Low German area that the tribes which finally came together to form the English language migrated. So High German, Low German. Then a language called Dutch, spoken in Holland or Netherlands. Two names. It has two names. So English is very close to Dutch. Closer to Dutch than German, because we find that the English people evolved from the Low Germanic region. Okay. So German, Dutch, English, what else? Afrikaans. There is a language called Afrikaans, spoken in South Africa. I'll come to that later. Okay. And smaller languages like Frisian, Frisian, spoken in a small part of Netherlands today. Frisian is, people say, the language which is closest to English. Why? Because the three tribes who came to England in the 5th century CE, they are called Angles, Saxons, Jutes. Angles, Saxons, and Jutes. Anglo-Saxons and Jutes. They came to England in their boats in the 5th century from this area called Frisia. Frisia is a small province. Okay. I don't know if you're interested. If you're interested, you can listen to this language on YouTube. And as soon as you listen, you'll find that it sounds very much like English. So, German, High German, Low German, Dutch, Frisian, English. This is the order in which these languages have evolved. So English evolves in the 5th century AD, when Anglo-Saxons and Jutes left the European mainland or the Low German area and came to England and settled down in various parts of the island. And they merged to form the English people or the Anglo-Saxon people. They are also called Angles. The name of the Jutes is not normally mentioned, but Angles and Saxons are mentioned. So for example, when you talk about the Americans and the British, you say things like the Anglo-Saxon attitudes or Anglo-Saxon manners. We assume that they have developed these attitudes and manners from those two tribes, Angles and Saxons. So English actually comes from Angles. You know, Angle is English and English. So this is the origin of the language. And as I said, Frisian has only dialectical status. It does not have the status of an independent language probably. Although it is available in the media, broadcasts are common in Frisian. So Frisian is the closest language. right? And then you have uh, two small languages spoken in Belgium, a small country called Belgium. Yeah, as I said, there are two languages in Belgium. Not both are members of the Germanic family. The language Walloon, Walloon, is actually a Romance language, close to French. Whereas Flemish, Flemish, is a Germanic language. In fact, in Belgium, both languages enjoy equal status. Right? So that completes our inventory of the Indo European family of languages, starting with the Indo Aryan family. I haven't named all the languages, there are many spoken in such a wide area. For example, in Sri Lanka, there is a language called, Sinhala, which is an Indo European language, close to Indian languages like Oriya. And there is a language in Maldives called Divehi, which is also an Indo European language. There are languages like Dari, Pashto, etc. in Tajik, etc. in Afghanistan. There is Farsi in Iran, and several small languages. I haven't mentioned all the languages. If you look at the list, you can find them. But the Indo-Iranian family, then the Armenian family, the Balto-Slavic family, the Greek family, the Albanian family, the Romance family, the Celtic family, and finally the Germanic family, to which English belongs. Right? And I have left out some European languages, interestingly. I already mentioned Finnish, spoken in Finland, which is on the border with Sweden, shares a border with Sweden. Finnish is not an Indo-European language, although it's a European language. Similarly, Hungarian, Hungarian, spoken in Hungary. It is also called Magyar, Magyar. It is not an Indo-European language. Although culturally it is close to its neighbors. The language is not the same. It doesn't sound similar. Again, a small language called Basque, Basque, spoken in Spain and France, in the border areas of Spain, something like 1 million speakers. It is not also an Indo-European language, like Hungarian. And the Basque is an isolated language. No other language has been connected with it. Okay. Although, by blood, some scientists say that many people in the British Isles share kin relationship with these Basque speakers. The genes in their blood indicate that there is a close connection, sometime back in history, probably 10 or 15,000 years ago. But there is no linguistic evidence for a connection. So I have left out two European languages from the family of Indo-European languages. They don't belong. They are strangers. One, Hungarian, three languages, Hungarian, Finnish, and then Basque. Now, your list is complete. I have to add two more languages which are extinct. You saw that animated map. You find a language called Hittite, which succeeded Anatolian in Turkey. Hittite is no more. It has left no descendants. Similarly, there was a language called Tocharian, Tocharian. Some slender evidence is available somewhere, probably piece of writing, but the language is again extinct. So 2 extinct languages, 8 existing families with a number of dialects. This is the history of the Indo European family. And as I said, it is the largest family of languages in the world. And now we have reached up to the point where English evolved as a separate language in the British Isles, when 3 different tribes migrated from the German lowland, reached England, settled down in various areas, and then they mingled together to produce the English language. So we are going to learn more about them in the next classes, right? So for the time, bye.